So yes, it looks like a significant update to Diablo 4 is happening a lot sooner than expected. We're going over all the evidence today, but it could be possible that you will want to keep an eye on this upcoming Tuesday. I'll explain in a moment. Plus, the Diablo 4 servers were under a full-blown DDoS attack recently as players struggled to even connect to the game, begging the question once again, will an offline mode actually happen for this game? But something strange also happened when the DDoS attack was underway. I was kind of pushed into another Blizzard game and walked away from that experience, realizing what Diablo 4 is actually missing. We have got to talk about this one. But there's a big issue also with Ancestral and unique items. The community is pleading for a change here, but will the dev team give in and finally listen? Also, a crucial update about the Microsoft Activision Acquisition. As the FTC Sony hearing intensifies, let's just say it's not looking so good for guess who this time? Sony. So we've got to talk about that one as well. But yeah, you've probably been trying to play Diablo 4 recently and noticed major connectivity issues. Just logging in has been an extreme problem. Yeah, Blizzard recently revealed that this is an issue, that they are investigating the login issues, affecting Diablo 4 and working to resolve them as soon as possible. Now, this did further evolve into them revealing that it was a DDoS attack. I'll get into that in just a moment more, but we do have a reply here with an actual response from the dev team. So let's talk about that first and foremost, because it hints to that significant Nightmare Dungeon buff patch, which we can look forward to. So check it out right here. It says the following. It's cool, fam. Looking forward to some Nightmare pushes when I do get in. Speaking of which, you want to hint when the patch is coming out? And we have a reply from Adam Fletcher of Blizzard who says, very, very soon. Now, it happened again. Yes, I'm trying to render out my video and we have a brand new update. Check it out right here. It says the following. 2 maintenance downtime windows this week for Diablo 4, June 26th and 27th, that's Monday and Tuesday respectively. Now it says it's going to be a big week for Diablo 4. It seems as we're getting 2 separate maintenance windows. By the way, this comes from icyveins.com. It says both Monday and Tuesday will have fairly large maintenance periods starting from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. PDT on Monday and 9:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Tuesday. The game will be unavailable during this time. Now, we've already speculated that there's a big patch coming next week, and this is certainly adding to that theory, considering the Monday maintenance was added later. Tuesday looks to be the more likely patch day candidate. Now, the Monday one may be related to the server and DDoS issues the game has been having over the weekend, and they link to this Reddit thread right here. It goes on to say this patch confirmed for Tuesday. And this official post from Blizzard says this: we will be performing scheduled maintenance beginning on Tuesday, June 27th, 9:30 a.m. PDT. And we expect the service to be available again at approximately 2 p.m. PDT. During this time, the game will be unavailable for play. Now, you have to remember what Blizzard has said previously on their live stream and officially. They did say that they do expect their big patch to actually take the game offline for a period of maintenance. So that's kind of the assumption. Everyone is putting the evidence together, saying that Tuesday is really looking like the day that we would be getting some sort of significant patch for Diablo 4. What would this patch be? Now, of course, there is the assumption that this would be the Nightmare Dungeon buff, where we would be getting more experience by running Nightmare Dungeons. But also, it's likely that this patch could also include the ability to teleport straight from Nightmare Dungeon to Nightmare Dungeon, and that would limit the travel time from dungeon to dungeon, which would be absolutely amazing for farming. Now, of course, a lot of this is just putting evidence together, so we are going to have to say that this is currently a rumor based on really good facts, but anything can happen with patches. They could be delayed. You never know. Hopefully we don't see another DDoS attack on Diablo 4. That could actually slow down the process of a patch, of course. But yeah, we will see what happens. I'll keep you guys in the know as to what happens around Tuesday as well. But yeah, we have got to talk about what happened with the DDoS attack and how that led me into another Blizzard game. But check this out right here. This was posted out on Reddit at first. Got a lot of upvotes and attention. It says, error, unable to find Diablo license code 315306. Anyone seen this? And a lot of people were like, yeah, what in the world is going on? And it started out simply enough with them saying we continue to actively monitor an ongoing DDoS attack, which is affecting latency connections to our games. So this was a big struggle for Blizzard. And again, like, why can't we just have an offline option during moments like this? However, what they did say most recently is that the DDoS attack is apparently over, at least for now. We'll see if it returns, but it kind of shows how fragile these servers can be at times. And yeah, it'd be nice if Blizzard gave us that offline option. Will it ever happen? That's the big question. It's what a lot of you guys are wondering. How realistic is that? It's super unrealistic. That's never going to happen ever with this game. They have too much technology tied up into it being online only. And I'm sorry to say, I just do not see an offline option ever happening, as much as I personally want it, because I play mostly for single player in this game anyway. Yeah, it's just a bummer to say that they can't have something set up for us for when moments like this do arise with this game. Now, also, we have this post right here as well. It says, DDoS during the only time I've been able to play this week. Welp. Yeah, that is such a bummer. So a lot of you guys were like, finally, I could have my time to play Diablo 4. And guess what? You're hit with this BS DDoS attack. But yeah, you know, I was sitting there at the Battle.net launcher, couldn't get into Diablo 4, and wondering, what now? What do I do with my life? No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, I had the option of playing Final Fantasy 16, but then I thought to myself, man, you know what? I would like to try the Crusader class in Diablo Immortal. So I decided to, yes, I kid you not, boot up Diablo Immortal. Choices were made. But let me tell you what, from that experience, two things were very clear. Number one, I want a Crusader Paladin type class. Most definitely it has to happen for Diablo 4. But also, when entering one of the dungeons, I was presented with this menu right here. The option to essentially find other players in the game. And this is missing big time from Diablo 4. And it made me scratch my head like, this game is free right here. Diablo Immortal is free. And the game that I purchased, Diablo 4, was definitely anything but free. Like, the standard edition is $70. How is this feature missing from Diablo 4? So this has to make its way into Diablo 4, in my personal opinion, very soon. Now, what we do know officially from the dev team is that, yes, they do plan to expand the social elements of the game and expect that to get better and better over time. But man, I want that sooner than later. We need something like that badly, because the population right now is at its peak. And the worry is that it would dwindle without these sort of features, without this sort of support, because I think it goes a long way with keeping people interested, knowing that they can go to a dungeon entrance and perhaps find other players. That'd be so cool. All right, so we got to talk about some other issues, and that is with ancestral and sacred items. Check out this post right here. It says, can we please make ancestral and sacred items different colors? And it goes on to say the following: they need to change the colors of drops and badly. And this was actually posted by the Sysman. It says, so time consuming to run a nightmare dungeon and then come back to town with a full bag of yellows to have to look at every single one to see if it is an upgrade. If ancestral items were a different color, then at least I can skip half of them, but not even needing to look at them to see if they are ancestral or sacred. Also, the colors on uniques are so similar to legendaries as well. They're just like a lighter shade of orange and not easily distinguishable at first glance. In Diablo 3, you knew you had a good item when it was red. You knew it was special. Am I the only one that thinks spending hours a day looking at gear when you are farming a lot is a waste of time? I agree with this 100%. And then there's this post right here which says, I changed the unique's color to red instead of pale orange. And yeah, you can see that there is a stark difference here, but someone was like, hey, let's take it a step further. I actually want purple. And some people want it to be very, very different with the color change from Sacred to Ancestral. Let me know what color you think, if any change should actually happen with this, what color you think Ancestral should actually become. Sound off in the comments down below. I'm kind of curious. All right, so we have got to talk about what's going on with the FTC Sony case, that Microsoft Activision Acquisition. Is that ever going to finalize or what? So this comes from Forbes. It goes on to say this one right here. It says, the FTC Sony case against the Microsoft Activision deal is very bad. Okay, so please do fill us in and tell us more. So it says this. I'm not the biggest fan of the Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition. That's because I'm skeptical of overall industry consolidation at that scale. I can't really say I can make a legal argument there. I just don't love the idea of a $70 billion takeover of a publisher when the last one, Bethesda, cost $7 billion by comparison. Already felt like a bit much of a tenth of the size. How do you guys feel about it, by the way? Are you for the acquisition or are you against it? Sound off in the comments below. I'm kind of curious. Next up we have, but if Sony and the FTC are doing everything they can do to block this deal, they are doing a very, very bad job of it, as evidenced by this week's hearings. What exactly happened this week? Where to start? So it says this. An email was revealed from PlayStation head Jim Ryan saying that he did not actually believe Microsoft would remove Call of Duty from the system, and that they would be more than okay if the deal went through, contrary to their public statements. Oh boy. Then it says the FTC has been hyper-focused on the concept of Microsoft exclusives through the deal like this, both in terms of the games themselves and also content within those games. Essentially, no attention has been paid to Sony's grand list of exclusives they are, of course, not offering to Microsoft. Furthermore, it says, one of the most tone-deaf moments was when the FTC started asking Microsoft about if it meant that acquisition could produce exclusive costumes or items for Xbox and not PlayStation. This is quite literally exactly the kind of exclusive content that was produced for PlayStation as a result of past deals from Activision. So essentially, nothing that Sony is saying can actually be provided as like hard evidence against Microsoft in this situation, because Sony has done it already. But yeah, let's keep going. It says this right here. The FTC tried to gotcha Phil Spencer by making him swear under oath he would keep Call of Duty on PlayStation and future PlayStations. He then swore that under oath. Then they tried to make him swear the same about other games, and the judge was so annoyed by them attempting to do that, she cut them off. Yikes. Now, the FTC has shown a poor baseline understanding of the industry they're trying to regulate here by killing this deal. At one point, the FTC asked Sarah Bond if you needed a Windows key to stream video games. You do not. In addition to not knowing how existing exclusivity arrangements are made and how many Sony itself has done over the years and continues to do. Now, the FTC called someone from Google Stadia to stand to testify about cloud gaming, the reason the deal was blocked in the UK. All the Stadia inclusion really proves is that it's a tiny market with no real audience that's deeply hard to find footing in. It's almost felt like a witness for Microsoft's side. I've always thought this, by the way, as they're trying to show that cloud gaming is a nascent, difficult market, a fraction of this overall deal. Yeah, I've never understood the whole argument like, oh, cloud gaming, they're going to become a monopoly because of cloud gaming. You can clearly see that is not happening right now at all. Now, down the road, things could change with that, but currently, man, in many ways, cloud gaming is struggling. Now, the article wraps up by saying the following. Sure, some blows have landed on Microsoft. There's an email from Matt Booty about how he didn't want Xbox games on Nvidia a few years ago. The reveal that Microsoft bought all of the Bethesda, in part because they were worried Starfield might go PlayStation exclusive, is not exactly dissuading anti-competitive concerns. It's a very competitive market. Furthermore, they say this, but overall, what has been on display this week is now documented hypocrisy from Sony and utter cluelessness from the FTC. Now, even on its face, it's easy to say this deal is probably just too big. No one is doing a good job of making a coherent legal argument for that in court. I would be genuinely stunned if this did not go Microsoft's way at this point. So guys, I'm really starting to think that Microsoft may actually pull this one off. We'll see. I don't know if they're going to be able to overturn what has happened in the United Kingdom. That's a whole different story. They have to be able to overturn that, but they will have an easier time overturning that if they win this particular court case. They could just use that as evidence in their attempt to overturn what's happening in the United Kingdom, of course. All right, so let me know. Again, I have to ask, do you want to see Microsoft successfully acquire Activision and Blizzard? You know, the one thing that I do love about what they have stated in the past is that if they do acquire Activision, they would want to bring back some major franchises. And that only means to me, like, I want to see StarCraft return. I would love to finally see a StarCraft 3. That would be so cool. All right, so yes, we have got to talk about your top comments about this video right here, my most recent one. Finally, devs confirm big XP update, new pinnacle boss fights that slog to level 100. Yes, a lot of cool stuff in that video. If you missed it, check it out. So, what does Nightwing 140 have to say? He goes on to say the following right here. Would be nice to see campaign bosses return. For example, when you finish a nightmare dungeon, there can be a chance for a campaign boss to spawn for extra loot and more XP for glyphs. Dude, I love this idea. I really think they need to make this happen. It would make it more interesting, and it would be randomized. So at the end of a nightmare dungeon, you might not actually get that sort of boss. Would be a little bit rare, not overly rare, of course. But yeah, it would be exciting going into nightmare dungeons, wondering, am I actually going to get the, campaign style boss event with this dungeon? And it would be neat if there were certain sigils that kind of gave you an idea that there's a higher chance of that actually happening, had a different look to them. All right, next up, we have this one from ELMCC0202, who says, I enjoyed the Butcher surprising me in a seemingly meaningless dungeon and chasing me was hilarious and fun. Need more of that. Poison is incredibly OP. A medium-sized spider or 2 to 3 stinging bees causes me more drama than most elites do. Needs to be fixed for sure. Yeah, it needs to be adjusted. Something is definitely wrong with the poison. It's too ridiculously overpowered. 100% agree. So we'll see what they do with that. They are going to be adjusting the resistances again in the future. That's going to actually, I think, influence a lot of the game systems that you do ignore currently. So I think that update is going to be more significant than a lot of people realize. And then we have RPG Gambit, who says, would like to see more boss and dungeon variety, as well as some more reward for doing high tier dungeons. I'm doing dungeons about 25 levels over me at level 77 right now, but only because I find the challenge fun. But beyond that, there doesn't seem to be much of a point in terms of rewards. Read more. Would also enjoy the ability to fight world bosses in an instant solo in a party. They are at least moderately interesting fights. Yeah, the world bosses are a lot of fun. I play the world bosses mostly, honestly, just for the rewards. Not so much the gameplay. I feel like you're kind of along for the ride. I did actually co-op that more recently with my bro, and it was an absolute blast. I will say that much. But I am going to say I do wish that there were more interesting mechanics with world bosses. That's a whole other discussion. I think they could evolve that a lot in the future. Let me know. I'm going to ask you guys, what would you do to change up world bosses in the future to make it a lot more interesting and perhaps even a bit more challenging down the road? Instead of it just being about, a large health pool that you have to knock down within X amount of time, I think that there needs to be something more interesting with it in the future. But thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more Diablo 4 news and updates. Thank you so much for the comments, the love and support on the videos. I always love reading your comments, and I hope to do more premieres and stuff like that as well. But thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time. Take care.